Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Impact Strength Show. I'm super excited today. In this episode, I'm going to be talking, I break down a whole bunch of different things, but specifically I go deep into setting behavior-based goals, right? How to pick an identity of a winner, how to make sure that you are doing the right things every single day, how you should show up as a person. Guys, we talk about so many big things that are going to be so many mental shifts for you that man, I wish that I could even put it all in this intro, but just go ahead and cue up the music, get your notepad out, guys. This one is hopefully going to light you on fire and make sure that you set some goals going into January or whenever you're listening to this. But man, I just know that if you listen to this podcast, this one could be a game changer for you. So go ahead and cue it up. Let's do it. Yo, what's up, guys? Coach Chris here with the Impact Strength Show. Super excited to be kicking off. This is episode number 3. And today, man, we got a good one. We're going to be talking all about mindset. We're going to be talking about goal setting. And we're going to be talking about achieving more balance in your life. All right, now, we got into this show, and I will be 100% on, man, I don't even know what my energy levels are coming as far as, those of you that are watching this on YouTube, or maybe when you're listening to this, if I sound tired. But today was one of those days where, man, I was tired. It's been a long last 2 weeks, and I made a joke. I was like, man, I'm, not feeling it today. And Alyssa was like, hey, should we not shoot the show? And I looked at her, I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, we can, be human. And I was like, we're not human, right? But all jokes aside, you should totally listen to your body when your body's telling you stuff. But I also have to sometimes listen to my gut. And my gut tells me sometimes that my mind wants me to do the easy route, right? My mind wants me to sometimes take that day off, right? And not push forward towards my goals. Now, we have to be in tune with our body and understand, when we're pushing our bodies too much, right, and not taking enough rest and relaxation and stress. But, the reality is, I just had a massage on Tuesday, right? So I already know that, I already had that rest in this week, and that this is something that was scheduled. And sometimes doing the things that we say we're going to do are going to hold more stock for us and actually create the person that we want to be. So if I decided to say earlier this week, we're shooting on Thursday, and then it's Thursday, and then I'm like, well, I'm tired, I don't really feel like doing it. Well, I'm giving myself that out in the future, right? I'm making that a new habit, a new thing, that if I don't feel like doing something, that I don't have to do it. And, this is something that we see that happens in the workout space a lot because, with our gym, our clients have to book their training sessions, and I tell them to do it on Sunday. Our best clients, they book it out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, right? They make it what was called non-negotiable for them in their schedule, meaning this is happening regardless, right? Unless, emergency happens, we understand those happen. But when you put it in there, when you tell somebody that you're going to do something, it holds a different level of accountability, and it makes you have to show up, right? And showing up when you're tired sometimes is going to be that thing that builds that character in the future, right? Showing up and finishing and saying, when you say you're going to do something and actually fulfilling with that, well, then that's going to craft that one more tweak of being that person that you say that you want to be, right? Because I always believe that there's a person who we are, and there's the person who we want to be. And most of us, right, if we're listening to this podcast, right, we're probably looking to develop ourselves, right, personal development, to get better, to get more educated, to get smarter, to get wiser, whatever it is that we're looking, more clarity, right? If we're watching this means that we want to get better. In order to get better, we have to get better at doing the things that we say that we want to do. Because if we're trying to become that successful student, if we're trying to become that successful entrepreneur, if we're trying to be that successful mother, that successful dad, right? Whatever it is that you're trying to work towards, there's going to be days when you ain't feeling it. And those are going to be the days that you really have to show up. Not for anyone, but for yourself, right? So Today we're going to talk about 3 things specifically when it comes to becoming that person that you want to be, right? Transforming, right? This whole podcast is about transformation, right? Or what we say here, like a job of a coach. Coach actually, was created when they looked at the stage coach, right? Like a horse and buggy. And when we look at coach and what our job is, our responsibility is, it's to take someone from where they are to where they want to be. All right, I'm going to say that again. The job of a coach is to take someone from where they are to where they want to be. So when you're someone who's starting your journey, you're starting at a spot, right? Point A. And say you want to get to point C, which is, more strength, more confidence, feeling like when you walk into a room, you can feel comfortable, right? Feeling like when it's summertime, you don't have to hide, right? That you can wear what you want to do. Feeling like you can go shopping and buy things that, look good, look cute for, guys or ladies, whatever. Try to look cute, you know what I mean? But, that's what transformation, right? So point A, point C, and what we like to think about is there's B, right? The messy middle, right? The messy middle. And what we need to do is we need to bridge the gap from A to C in order to become the person we want to be. Oh, snap, I just made a rhyme. In order to become the person we want to be, we got to bridge the gap from A to C. You feel me? Man, we need to sign, what we do, put that as a quote or copyright that. I like it. It has a little jingle to it. We're going to make that a jingle. The Impact Strength Show jingles. All right, so let's dive into this, man. Let's dive into this. So hopefully you guys are with me right now, right? Transformation, right, is becoming the person we want to be, right? Obviously, we're not happy with where we're at. But I am going to tell you should be happy where you're at, right? Because part of transforming is actually being happy at where you're at. Step 1. Loving yourself, right? Who you are, what you've already accomplished in your life. Because when you have gratitude for that, well, then you're actually ready to receive the things that are ready to start coming when you start making those changes, right? And that's a big thing, right? That's a really big thing. So, hey, let's talk about it because this is going to dive into number 1 on today for our topic, right? So I'm bringing you guys 3 things today, right? Mindset, goal setting, and balance. So first one is going to be mindset. And what exactly are we talking about mindset? Because, guys, I'm not we joke. I'm not a spiritual gangster. I ain't got nothing against the spiritual gangsters. I love y'all. We need the spiritual gangsters out there. But, I'm going to tell you how it is, kind of real talk kind of person, right? And I'm going to be real with you. The things that you say to yourself, right? The things that you say to yourself are the things that are stopping you from being the person that you want to be. Right? And I'll put it there because a lot of people be how other people treat me. There's things that other people, guys, I grew up, people made fun of me all the time. I was made fun of because I was really dark skinned. So people made lots of really dark skinned jokes. I got made fun of because I had buck teeth. From, 6 years old, they talk about having, tough skin. I learned how to have tough skin. Right? And, but I will say, the things that other people said about me had less of an effect on me than the actual things that I said to myself. See, when you tell yourself, I'm not good enough, when you tell yourself, I'll never be able to do that, when you tell yourself, I'm a blank, right? I'm not going to try and get too explicit on here just in case, we have some younger listeners, right? And in my baseball guys on here trying to get their mindset leveled up, right? When we tell ourselves these things, guys, I call them negative thoughts, right? Self-sabotaging thoughts, right? Because they become the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If you tell yourself you're not good enough and you don't deserve the opportunity, well, then when you get put into a situation where if you work hard and you're dedicated and you're consistent, that you could win, you could get that promotion, you could get that opportunity, you could get notice, you could get that big break. If you've been telling yourself you're not good enough, well, then you're not putting in the work, to begin with. If you come to a gym and you're like, I want to lose weight, but down inside of yourself, you're saying, I'm the fat kid, or I'll never lose that weight, or skinny people, or eat, like whatever fill in the blank things that you're saying, if you're saying those things, well, then you're already setting yourself up for a failure because you won't do what's necessary to be successful. So the biggest step and the first step to anyone being successful in anything that they do is you got to be a fan of the star player. The star player in your story, in your journey. You got to give yourself the love and respect first because ain't nobody else going to give it to you. Maybe you grew up with a helicopter parent and they told you were good enough your whole entire life. You know, I didn't have that. But like, I know there's people that did. But like, you can't believe that. But you got to tell yourself that you are. You got to tell yourself that you're the greatest, right? Because when you start doing that, well, if I'm like, I take it back to always being in baseball, right? Now, a lot of people don't know this, but I want, if you don't know anything about me, I played college baseball. I played Division II baseball down in Georgia. I wasn't Division I, but we did pretty good. It was a pretty good league, right? And but where I came from was a small school in South Jersey. We weren't really known for baseball, and baseball was my second sport. I was a football player, right? But I got the opportunity to play baseball. And I remember telling myself when I first signed, I played with guys that were like so much better than me. I was like, man, I don't belong on this field. I was like, these kids are like insane. But right afterwards, I like told myself, but I want to be. I want to be great. And now I can see what greatness looks like. And I ain't great, but I can be if I start changing the stuff that I'm doing. So I made a decision that junior year in high school that I was going to practice differently, I was going to play differently, and that like became my new work ethic as I got into college. And I was able to go to school on a scholarship because I made a commitment to being a better player, and I knew that I wasn't where I needed to be, but I always still was a fan of myself. I always told myself I can achieve these goals. I can be a all-region guy. I can be an All-American, right? I can get a scholarship. I just got to keep working, right? So it was more like you got to put yourself in the reality of the space of like, okay, here's who I am. The self-awareness is much needed, right? We always talk about self-awareness. You have to be able to look at yourself and be like, I don't have these skills, right? And that's fine, but I can build these skills, right? Some people might find, hey, maybe if you are someone who's looking to lose weight and like you don't cook, it's going to be really hard for you to lose weight. Because you got to be able to like eat healthier foods. But like you don't need to learn how to cook. You can just go find someone who cooks healthy and get them to cook your food, right? Or you can find a meal prep service, right, that can make your food, right? So not all skills need to be obtained, but you do need to have a strategy. But if you were like never even looked at yourself and be like, oh, cooking is an issue, like then you wouldn't even know to make that step to change, right? So if you're like, oh, I want to lose weight, but like I'm great at everything and I don't have any problems to fix, well, then you ain't got no problems to fix and you're just going to keep doing what you're doing. But if you know like, hey, I want to lose weight and, but I'm snacking late at night, I'm not getting enough sleep, and I just feel sluggish and tired. Well, when you're real with yourself, well, now we can actually start to fix those problems because we can be like, all right, well, let's address some of these on an individual level and we can get you out of that. But if you don't identify with the things that you're struggling with to begin with, right, then it's going to be hard, right? Because a lot of times when we think about things that we're not good at, it's almost like we attach that to our identity. Like, I'm not good at working out, so therefore I'm bad, right? I'm not good at working out or I don't work out like the rest of those people, or I don't look like them, or I'm not coordinated like them, therefore I'm not good enough. Or I'll never be able to do it. Like, guys, like, we can't tie lacking in a certain area to our identity because the reality, your identity is who you are and the person that you're trying to be. Like, you are exactly who you are from the things that you've done so far, right? And the things that you're going to do in your future, right? Like, that's it. Like, it's just like data, right? The inputs, who we are. I know that for myself, if I look at my identity and who I am, well, I'm an athlete. Right? Like, I never stopped being an athlete. That's why I train now. Because if I'm still an athlete, that means I still need to train, right? I need to eat the right way. I eat like an athlete, right? I don't put, I'm not big on like putting labels on foods like good food or bad food. But like when it comes to like fast food and stuff like that, I really don't eat a lot of it. And it has nothing to do with like, oh, that's terrible for, like there's plenty of that to go around. But the reality is once you become an identity, like I'm an athlete, so I fuel myself with minimally processed whole grain nutrients that are high quality ingredients, right? Like I want good food in the body so that I can perform the way I want, right? To be able to go through a day of work, to be able to get through a workout and challenge myself so that I can get stronger, right? I want to optimize my performance as a human, right? That's who I am. That's my identity. Now, other people might have a different identity. You might be a mom, right? Like some people identify as a mom and therefore, sometimes don't put themselves first, right? Like sometimes when we have you're more than just a mom, right? You're still a person. So you need to make sure that like you're careful of what identity that you start to adopt, right? If you adopt the wrong identity, it can change the habits that you do. If you're just a student, for instance, maybe you just crash, study, you just hit the books and you don't like work out. You don't take care of yourself, right? So when we're crafting our identity, we got to make sure, like, because you can have multiple identities, right? I'm an athlete, I'm an entrepreneur, right? I'm a leader, right? So there's these other things. So I have to actually like have the behaviors of those identities. So when you create the identity that you want to be, you can almost create the behaviors that you need to do, and you have to do those behaviors despite how you're feeling, right? Like I think at the end of the day, like if you want to be, it's not about losing weight. I always tell people, like be a healthy person, right? Be a healthy individual, because when you're a healthy individual, it's easy to do the behaviors of a healthy individual. Get sleep, drink water, go for walks, eat a well-balanced diet, not skip meals, keep the sugars in processed foods down. Like you still eat them, but you don't overconsume them, right? When you change identity to become a healthy person, well, then you start to do the behaviors of a healthy person. All right, so that's the first thing, is mindset, right? What we tell ourselves, right? What we tell ourselves in a negative way can influence us, but we also have the ability to create those positive behaviors by telling ourselves the right stuff in the right way. So next up, achievable goals. I find that a lot of people struggle making their goals, mainly because of what we talked about in the first one, right? Which is that self-awareness. I think that self-awareness is really, really important when it comes to goals. So what you want to do is think about like all the goals that you've done in the last 10 years. Like which goals have you set? Like don't give me the New Year's resolution, right? People make resolutions which aren't really goals, but like goals are like, man, you sat down and you're like, I want to achieve this, right? And we can talk a little bit of like, are they like, what do they call them? SMART goals, right? So what does this stand for? What is it? No, it's SMART, right? So it's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and it has a time deadline, right? Right, so SMART goals, right? So people talk about that. That was a great framework to kind of start making goals, right? So it's got to be specific, it's got to be measurable, it's got to be attainable, it's got to be realistic, and it's got to have a time deadline. So you want to make sure that you at least have that, right? Like when you're making a goal, and that might be like, I want to, weight loss is always like, it's just the easiest one, but like put on muscle, right? Like I want to put on, 3 pounds of muscle in the next 12 weeks, right? So that's something, you got 12 weeks, so it's got a time on it. It's measurable. It's definitely got the M, right? It's specific, 3 pounds of muscle. Is it obtainable? Well, it depends, right? That one's always depending on like, hey, are you a beginner in lifting or are you someone super advanced? If you're someone super advanced, maybe 3 pounds of muscle in the 12 weeks, it might not be that reasonable, right? Or that attainable. But if you're a beginner, yeah, you definitely put on 3 pounds of muscle in 12 weeks. You probably put on more than that, right? So it's got to have the good framework to get started. But the other thing is like, I think that like the realistic part in there is the big one for me. Like this is where most people will struggle because like you can see all different types of results from different things on the internet. And, we have freakishly like crazy data. Like I was just looking through different before and after pictures and like results from different clients that I've had over the, last 10 years. And like, I had like 6 and 8 week ones. And like you had your like normal ones, which was like, I remember our 1 8-week challenge, the average weight loss in that challenge was 9.8 pounds in 8 weeks. So average, right? Average. That meant that like someone like, there was one person that like gained weight. There's always the one, right? But like on the top end, so we have the bell curve, most people were kind of in around that 9 range, but then we had someone lose 20 pounds in that same 8-week challenge, right? So you had like different variables, but then I was looking at stats and I had a 6-week person who like lost 20 pounds. Then I had another one that had 15. Then I had another one that was 10. Then I had one was 40 pounds in 6 weeks. So like, they're so all over the place. And each one of those people were different and unique in their own way. Some of them may have had a lot more weight to lose, right? Some of them might have been on the beginning stages of their journey, so therefore it was easy for them to lose weight. Some of them, that didn't lose weight, maybe they had, some stress or hormone stuff that kept them from seeing the results that they wanted to see. Like, so there's so many different outcomes that happen, and I think that people have to be realistic, and realistic starts with like understanding where you're at. So if you're coming in and you're someone who has a history of dieting and like you've been doing it for all your life, and now you're getting ready to start a program and you're like, I want to lose 10 pounds in 6 weeks, well, like, that might not happen because what your body actually needs might be actually giving yourself more nutrients, more calories, right? Actually healing your body from the inside out, and like what most people would label reverse dieting, right? Like it's actually giving your body the stuff that it needs, that it's been deprived of, to fix your metabolism so that later on you can lose weight in a sustainable way, right? So like not everyone coming in is in the position where they can have a massive transformation. So you have to be real with yourself and understand, like, hey, are you someone who, like, prime example, someone who has been eating fast food every single day for 2 meals a day, if they come into my gym and do an 8-week program and I am able to help them start cooking all of their meals and working out 3 times a week in 8 weeks, well, yeah, that person, I'm probably going to say, or if they have the weight to lose, say 40, 50 pounds to lose, they'll probably lose 20 to 30 pounds in that 8 weeks if they change those behaviors. Like, but most people aren't going to be able to cook all their meals, right? Because it's like, realistic part is, do you have that time? Do you have that brain energy? Like, is cooking a skill that you already possess? If you don't possess the skill of cooking, well, when we're trying to learn a new habit or a new skill, it taps into how much brain energy we have. So, for instance, someone like me who cooks all the time, it doesn't take that much energy for me to cook a meal, at night. But someone who doesn't know how to cook, if you don't know what the heat to put it on, or what oil to use, or like the different seasonings to use, like all of those are different thoughts that you need to make and decisions that you need to make, which leads to decision fatigue and makes it that it's hard for you to do a new habit or a new skill because your brain literally is tired. Like, and then we're not eating enough food. That's a different subject. But like that's a reality. So when we're looking at like setting our goals and achieving our goals, you got to be able to like be real with yourself and be like, hey, why don't, instead of me giving this crazy like target of X amount of pounds, why don't I make my goal a behavior? Right? Because I like doing this with my clients. Like, I want to get in 16 workouts in the next 6 weeks. Right? This one has nothing to do with weight. It has all to do with you just being able to show up and execute, right? And most of the time when we change one thing, if it's a good enough habit that we change, it will change other things around it. So if me giving you the goal of 16 workouts in 6 weeks, now you have to plan it in. So you realize, oh, I got to work out in the morning or else I'm not going to be able to fit these workouts in. Well, if you were drinking a couple nights a week, going out, staying up late, well, you're probably not going to drink a couple of those nights and stay up late or go out, right? Because you've made that commitment to the workout. So you've changed some of your bad habits, and then you're like, well, I got to eat after my workout because now I'm hungry because I'm getting my metabolism running in the morning. Well, you're probably going to go eat something probably better for you, right? So notice that you can make one small habit change, like working out 16 times in 6 weeks, and all of a sudden it changes all these other habits around it. And that is the beauty of behavior change and thinking about changing a habit versus like shooting for your goal to be weight loss, or I want to lose, X amount of pounds, because one, you don't have control over how fast your body loses weight. You don't have control over if your body's ready to lose weight. What you do have control over is how many meals you cook at home, how many workouts you do, how many walks you go for, how many hours you sleep at night, how many glasses of water you drink each day, how many fruits and vegetables you eat on a regular basis, what supplements you put into your body, right? These are all things that you do have control over. So I would focus my attention and energy on that instead. Because that is something where it's like, oh, my goal is to do this. I can evaluate and see what happened afterwards. I always say, make your goal 5 chin-ups. In the process, you're going to have to get really strong and you might have to get a little bit leaner to be able to get those 5 chin-ups. But you're going to get there if that is your goal, right? So there's a power in goal setting, but you need to make sure that you're setting your goals in an area where that you can actually have control over those outcomes, right? Don't set your goals in a sense of like vanity type goals. Like, oh, I want to have, don't get me wrong. Like we always ask people like, oh, like, what would be an acceptable amount of body fat that you can lose, right? Because we want to know as a coach, like where they're at. But then we're going to take and say, these are the behaviors that we need to change in order to get to that goal. Right? So don't think about how much muscle you want to gain, how much weight you want to lose, or the body fat. Think about the behaviors that you need to change that are going to drive those results. All right? Now, last one for you guys, number 3, all right, is we wanted to talk more about balance, right? Balance. So this one I steal from the great Garrett J. White. All right? So it's been coached by so many people. It's been written in books like First Things First by I think it's Robert Covey. Don't quote me on the name, something Covey. He's a pretty famous artist or author, so I should know his name. But he wrote a book called First Things First. Eric Thomas had it in his book. He talked about the 4 quadrants. So like a lot of people have kind of put things into like 4 pillars of success, and right. So like you can take this one and mold it, and I'm gonna give you away because like Garrett White kind of talked to business owners for the most part, and their parents and stuff like that. But like I've since have used it with like regular clients and have made it kind of fit in their life, right? So there's the core 4, which is body, being, balance, and business. Now, for the business side of things, like, I just say for people like, think about that one as like your job, right? If you have a career, like if you're a nurse, if you're a doctor, if you're a teacher, whatever you do, right? That could be your career. Or if you're a student in college, right, still in school, right? That quadrant can be, your education, if you would, right? If you're in high school still, right, listening to this, right, then like kudos to you, right, if you're listening to this podcast and you're still in high school. But that could be, your school, your grades, right? So bear with me on the body, being, balance, and business. So number 1, body. What is it? So we like to split it into 2 categories. So the first one is the physical body, right? So this is actual physical working out. This is, building strength, sweating, right? Even mobility can fall into like moving your body 15, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, right? Why? Like, because if you do it every day, and these things, like the way the body, being, balance, business works is like every day you're trying to hit your 4, right? So this is why it can vary from 15 minutes to an hour, because one day my body could be going in doing a strength training session, while the other day it might be 15 minutes of foam rolling and mobility, right? I'm still putting in some work towards making my body, what did I say earlier? Optimize, right? Human optimization. So helping my body feel good and run good. So I need to make sure it's strengthened. I need to make sure that it has good conditioning, right? Cardio. But then I also need to make sure that it's mobilized and, not at high risk for injury, or, I don't want to have pain, right? So that kind of fits in as far as the physical body. The second part is the actual inside, right? Like our health, right? The foods that we eat. So this one, when I help someone set a goal, it might be as simple as like, hey, take this greens powder every day, right? Like something as small as that versus like, hey, like Susie, don't, eat Chick-fil-A, right? All of a sudden, if I said don't eat Chick-fil-A, Susie's going to be thinking about Chick-fil-A. She might not even been, now you're probably heard Chick-fil-A, now you want some, right? That's just the way our brain works. So instead of telling yourself not to be able to have something, I find that it's better on this health side of things to focus on what healthy habit are you working on. And then you have your health, so that means that you need to make sure that so there's the physical, the working out and the moving and keeping your body feeling good. And then there's the actual health, which is the longevity. It's going to keep you on the planet a little longer, right? Taking care of how you eat, making sure you're drinking water, all those things are very, very important, right? So moving on to being, what is the being? So being was more about like spirituality, right? So this can like be anyone. If you're into meditation, right? If you're into gratitude and journaling, right? Being could be like even just like mental health, getting, talking to someone about stuff, right? Being can be going for walks in nature, right? Getting your stress down. It could be getting a massage. It's anything that's going to make you, it could be your religion, right? It could be prayer. It could be going to church or to temple, right? It could be, doing whatever's going to keep you spiritually connected, that is going to be the fire and the purpose that drives you as a person, right? It's important that you feed this part of your body, because this is where most people will go how do you stay motivated? How do you stay motivated? Well, guys, motivated, when you look at people who seem like they're motivated, it's not motivation, right? It's driven, they're driven based off of their purpose. They know who they are at the deepest level and what they're here to do. So it's almost an obsession that drives it, right? When someone is working out and you ever find a person they're doing the YouTube videos where it's workout motivation, and this person's training like a maniac, they're on a different level. They're trying to take their body to a place. I look at David Goggins, for instance, right? David Goggins is super hardcore. He trains so hard, but he's trying to be what he calls uncommon, right? He doesn't want to be like normal people. He wants to push his body to limits that most people will never ever even think about doing, right? But that's what makes him motivated. That's what drives him. That's what gives him purpose, right? So you got to look at what gives you purpose, right? Is it that you're in school to be something, that you're trying to help, help people with their health, right? Does that drive you as a person to help others, right? To serve others. I know as a coach, I want to serve others. I'm serving with this podcast, sharing my thoughts, sharing my beliefs, sharing different structures that I've used in my life, because I want to serve my people. I want to help you guys live better lives, right? So that is our being side of things. So you could be reading, it could be meditation, it could be, stretching, massage, any of that, right? Balance, right? This is the most important one, because I neglect this one the most, right? This is relationships, right? This is your family relationships. This is friendships, right? This is creating new relationships. This is, you and your spouse, your significant other. This could be you and your child. Are you putting in that work? Are you investing into those parts of your relationships, right? Are you putting in the time and the energy into those people? Because that will make you feel whole, right? When you ignore these four things, guys, that's when we get burned out. That's when we start to feel like we're just living day to day, right? So when we understand these things, it helps us guide us. It gives us a compass. And then the last one, is business, right? So for me as a gym owner, it's hey, there's certain things that I need to be doing every single day, right? If you're a student and you're in school, it's hey, I need to be hitting the books. I need to be studying. I got an exam coming up, right? I got labs, right? If you're in your work career, maybe you're thinking about personal development and getting, better, building more skill sets so that you can get a higher pay increase in the future, right? So what happens is when we have balance, because some of us will like focus only on our career, and then we gain a bunch of weight because we're not doing healthy habits, we're not working out, and then like we're not really in a good place mentally, so our being gets thrown off, right? So when we're not in a good place because we're focused too much on one, we start to isolate and become one-dimensional, right? Some of us are two-dimensional at best, meaning maybe we hit the gym and we eat healthy, and we focus on like our career and our wealth, but like we have terrible relationships and like, you know, we don't feel good. We don't feel like we have a lot of purpose in our life and we feel lost, right? So that's why this works the way it works, is because when you feed each one of them, right, we're creating what we need to have balance. And there's certain times of the year that you might need to focus on one more than the other, and that's fine. But as long as you understand how to get back to balance or what balance looks like, well, then you can actually find that home base and get back to those habits. So that's what I really look at, guys. It's like it really comes down to the three things. These three things will drive your success in anything that you're doing, right? That is number one. You got to have the right mindset. You got to be telling yourself the right things and adopting the right identities and making sure that you're not adopting the wrong identities, because sometimes those wrong identities can drive our behaviors and behaviors drive our results, right? The second one is the goal setting, right? Like setting goals based on the behaviors that will make you successful. Not setting our goals so much based on what we want to weigh, or like finding that like if we hit this weight that like, because it's not going to make you happy. I'm going to give you the advice, guys. Like I've helped lots of people lose weight. If you're not happy in the beginning, you're not going to be happy because you're 15 pounds lighter. You'll just be the same person with the same problems that's 15 pounds lighter, right? But if you set your mindset on, I want to become a new person, I want to become a healthy person, because like I saw a parent who struggled with their health on the back end of their life, and I want to be there, and I want to be present for my kids. I want to be present in the later phases of my life so I can enjoy retirement. I want to be able to go out and hike. I don't want my body to be a limitation. There's so many things that I can't do because I'm holding on to this weight, or there's so many things I can't do because I have these aches and these pains, or like I'm not strong enough. I had one client who told me once that like they were on vacation, they needed to pull themselves up on a rock, and they didn't have the strength to do that. And like, that is what I want people to never, ever have to go through. I want you to be able to have the body to be able to do the things that are going to bring you joy and light your fire in life and give you the motivation to go out and achieve great things, right? So you have to be able to set goals based on who you want to become. And then the most important thing is, don't be just so goal-grinded and focused on one thing. You got to keep your balance. So the best way to do it, guys, is to set goals in all four of those areas and focus on driving the success in a balanced way. So if I want to, get stronger, maybe I'm like, man, I got to hit 2 strength workouts a week, and I got to have protein in 3 different meals. I got my body set up. I need to make sure that I'm meditating each day and that I'm practicing gratitude, at night, because sometimes you got to go to bed with the right thoughts, right? This is something that I'm just making up. I wish I could do gratitude at night, guys. That one I probably need more than anything. Maybe I should start my day with more gratitude. And because they always say it's hard to be pissed off when you're being gracious at the same time, right? So like gratitude, guys, like I've literally, like when I'm good on this one, when I'm doing it, like I literally feel like stress leave my body. I feel like my brain feels much more freer just by writing the things that I'm thankful for in my life, right? Because if you're constantly thinking about the things that you don't have and all the problems that you have, well, that is like stressing you out and creating this like tightness and this stiffness, right? But if you start to think about the things that you do have in your life, the things that you are grateful for, the opportunities that are going around, like right now, most of you guys are listening to this on a device. Guys, how much does this device cost that you're listening or watching this on? If you're on an iPhone, if you're on a smartphone, this is like a $700 to $1,000 device that you're watching this on. Like, how amazing is that? How amazing is it that you're able to go onto the internet and find something that's going to give you the opportunity to become a better person? Back in the day, guys, you would have had to go find someone and drive to them. Back in the day before that, you would have had to have a stagecoach with horses to get into to go find someone. So, guys, there's a lot of things to be grateful for. We just actually got to look for them, all right? And when we find them, it's going to give us more balance. And make sure that you're showing love and appreciation for the people in your life, right? The people that we care about. Make sure you let them know. Because sometimes, man, that might be the thing that they needed to hear that day. So you be making someone else's day by telling them how much they matter to you, how much you care about them. And then, guys, like, don't be happy where you're at. Don't be happy where you're at. You got to focus on your career. Focus on your education. Focus on growth. Focus on getting better, right? Focus on whatever it is that you're trying to do, make it better, right? I always say, if you ain't, there's no maintenance. You're either getting better or you're getting worse, right? So I choose to grow 1% every day, and I just focus on how can I do one thing today that's going to make me better than I was yesterday. And if you always wake up with that mindset, well, then you're going to wake up one day and you're going to accomplish a lot of things. All right, guys, I'm out. This is Coach Chris once again with another episode of the Impact Strength Show. I hope you enjoyed. Tell a friend, and I appreciate you for even taking the time to listen, and I hope this helped.